Sure, I am working here at Nearsoft since 7 years ago, something like that. I have been involved in several projects, mainly on the travel industry. And my background is it's on Java, full stack dev, and all other technologies. I have been doing some .NET stuff. Currently, I am leading a training initiative that is called Academy. So I am in charge of training fresh college graduates to join our forces or other forces, and that's my main role. And I am here because I am very interested on the topics you're gonna talk. So I am a big fan of the topic. So that's why I asked to co-host this.
And we need Isaac because neither Carlos nor I have a technical background, so it's good to have him as a wingman for us. Regarding Nearsoft,
wonderful.
Regarding Nearsoft, a little bit about what we do. We're based a Mexican-owned operated company. We do software as we work with companies who do software as a service, and we develop with them. We have 3 offices. We're at the largest office, which is in Hermosillo, Sonora. There's also an office located in Mexico City and another in Chihuahua. So we're growing. In the last 10 years, 10 years ago, we had about 8 people, I think, and Nearsoft's now over 250. So we're excited about that.
Congratulations, that's fantastic.
Thank you. We're really big on democracy at work and just innovating, not only innovating technology, but innovating culture as well. So that's a little bit about who we are and what we do. As far as Dojo Live goes, thank you again for being here with us. We broadcast live with experts like you. The goal behind this is twofold, well, threefold really. First and foremost, we're all about innovating, learning, and self-improving. So it's an opportunity for us to learn from to share that knowledge with others, and then it winds up being a nice marketing opportunity for Nearsoft and those who choose to be our guests. So once again, thank you. The scope varies. Live audience tends, I'd say the average is around 100 people. It doesn't stop there though, because there's the access to the website, and of course we'll be promoting whatever it is that you want us to promote there. I think Carlos will be able to get in touch with you with more details, and you can see what that landing page looks like and work out that later. Am I right, Carlos? Carlos? Uh-oh, why can't we hear you anymore?
Yeah, sorry, Carlos. I think that you have to close your browser because you lose your sound signal. There is no indication that you're talking.
Maybe the artificial intelligence is trying to stand between us.
Yeah,
Yeah, bro. This is the Skynet trying to.
Can you hear me now? Is that any better?
Yes.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Carlos, before we go live.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Cool. So I'm just going to get rid of the headset for now. So I'm going to have to be playing a little trick here and there because of the noise, you know. So please bear with me. And for the record, Stuart, thank you so much. I hadn't really had a chance to talk because of these little things and these nuances of technology, and the technology can be mischievous sometimes. So anyway, without further ado, we can. What we do is we're gonna go live, and then what happens is that after we stop the broadcast,
I've seen that the broadcast says we are live.
I mean, we are live right now. So because it was simply people who were asking me about what was going on, and I said, okay, let's just play it by ear because this is the first time that this ever happens. And guys, folks out there, this is technology. You never know what's going to happen. You know, things happen. And so please bear with us. And, you know, so you're being part of something that's going on here at Nearsoft and Don't Be Live today.
How long have we been airing? Is that well, we're Nearsoft.
That's all right. I mean, don't bother with that. I mean, leave that to me, Kim. You know how it goes. So, okay, so we should get it started now. So, Stuart, thank you. And then once we go off the air, you and I, all of us are going to stay here for a few minutes to chat. So, Kim, you already did the honors, so why don't you go ahead and introduce Stuart and introduce the talk as well.
Yes, I think I introduced us much more in depth than usual. So hello, folks. Thank you once again for joining us at Dojo Live. As you saw, we had some technical difficulties. We're actually airing Stuart through a Skype chat onto Google Hangouts Live. So here is Isaac Lopez, fellow Nearsoftian, MacGyver. He figured this all out. And joining us today, Stuart, I didn't even chance to realize how to pronounce your last name properly. If you could please let us know.
Well, give me your best shot first, and I'll let you know.
I'm going to guess that your name is, oh no, Grafe? Stuart Grafe? Grafe? Uh-oh, we have the delay. Here we go. Pick up.
Apparently he froze.
Apparently I guessed wrong, folks. Oh no! Was the He is the senior executive for travel, hospitality, and transportation with none other than Microsoft, guys. And he is here to talk to us about artificial intelligence. I need to do here, driver.
You just have to drop it.
I'm there.
We're back. Hold on. Drop
This is
the
live
Skype
without the sound.
call. All right, Stuart. I'm sorry, we cut out again. My best guess was, I don't even know what my first guess was. Grace.
That's right. Greif. It rhymes with life. I've been called worse, and I'll take it.
Okay, Greif. Thank you. So we're joining us as Stuart Greif. He is, like I said, the senior executive for travel, hospitality, and transportation with Microsoft. And his chosen topic is AI. What's fact, what's fiction, the future, and of course, science fiction. So Stuart, I know we're a little lacking time now, so let's just get right into it. Can you please tell us a bit more about you, your extensive background, what it is you're doing with Microsoft, and what you know about AI?
Sure. So my name's Stuart Greif. I'm the senior executive for travel hospitality at Microsoft. And really, we focus on helping companies, organizations, and individuals achieve more. It's been a cultural, digital, as well as market transformation underneath Satya's leadership since 2014, and it's a whole new Microsoft. So you may think you know Microsoft. I assure you, even more so on the inside after I joined, I was amazed at iPhone. And we're not trying to be the end-all, be-all in travel. We're trying to help businesses solve really nettlesome industry challenges and push the edge of innovation. And that means partnering with world-class disruptive companies, not Microsoft alone or Microsoft first at all. When it comes to artificial intelligence, most times folks really have, one question. I guess, this could be a 2-minute conversation in one slide. They want to know, well, who wins? The machines or human beings? And I'm not gonna cut to the chase on the answer in that just yet. But I do want to share a bit of perspective. There's a lot of hype out there around artificial intelligence. So before we go to the future and talk about fact versus fiction and science fiction, why are we here? And I don't mean that conversation your parents. Is why AI, why now? I was in Japan at one of these connected rooms of the future, connected home, drapes, you got lights going on, heat, everything else, the whole shebang. And there's nothing that seems really unusual about that until I tell you the fact that the year was 1987. This was 30 years ago. So artificial intelligence has actually gone through 2 winters, once in the 80s and the 90s, when the promise of it and the hype and expectation around it far exceeded the ability of the surrounding technologies to deliver. So what's different now?
On the moon too,
well,
right?
Yeah. Sorry?
It kind of goes in hand with.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. We were going to be living on the moon as well.
Oh yes, actually, that's right. Meet George Jetson, right? And we don't quite yet have the robots, so they're coming. Really different, and where artificial intelligence has really been amplified is with cloud computing, the amount of data to actually train machines. Now I think we're at a point where the technology actually exceeds the friction points in industry to capitalize on that. What I mean is, have you guys heard about keyless entry in hotels for years? Is that something in Mexico City you guys have read or heard about in the travel space? You just go straight to the room? Well, but it's taken years to be able to actually have the capital and the technology and the investment to do that. So there are natural friction points. When it comes to AI, the ability to put that into place is there. Perception of kind of human intelligence right now is I think a little bit at risk at disappointing some in terms of what can be delivered. So what you find today is really that there are a variety of things cognitively, from image recognition, voice recognition. If you think about machine learning, which is a subset of AI, and deep learning, which is a subset within that mimics the human brain structure, the people that are expert in each of these fields are very deep into it. It's not the same thing in each area. Mm-hmm. And the ability to kind of pull these together like a human being and reason isn't there. So I don't want to negate the tremendous opportunity that's in front of us and the tremendous change that's going on, because it is profound. So cognitive systems and AI is expected to drive from $8 billion in revenue in 2016 to roughly $47 billion in 2020. A lot of the industries like banking, retail, healthcare, manufacturing will be impacted. And by 2018, half of all consumers will interact with some form of cognitive computing. It used to be that everyone was talking data analytics, any startup you came across or anybody, and now everything is suddenly intelligence. Well, what does that mean? The human capacity to absorb information and the amount of time in our lifetime is growth, even with health extending lifespans. Artificial intelligence is not about just kind of playing games and beating humans. It's about being able to augment what we are capable ourselves to process, to make better use of that time to be more efficient. So when you think about cognitive capabilities, think vision, think speech, think language, think knowledge, think search. So let's talk a little bit about where we are today, and then we'll go towards the future. So, AI is rapidly developing, but the powerful kind of self-actualizing vision of science fiction of consciousness, maybe decades out. It's more algorithmically intelligent AI, if you will, than it is intelligent. The examples today, though, are still pretty stunning in terms of what it can do. So machines are besting humans in tasks. For example, Microsoft last year set a global high mark when it comes to speech recognition. It was able to equal humans' capacity to recognize speech. Now, that doesn't mean we are 100% able to hear everything accurately, but it means the machines were equal to our capacity to do so. Additionally, when you think about image recognition, the ability to identify images, machines now, Microsoft set a global achievement. The second best competitor was able to identify 22 layers of an object. In other words, you might see a duck. Together, those 22 layers compile an image that the machine can understand is a dog versus a person or a cat. 22 was the second. I think the third had 18 layers. Microsoft hit 152 layers. And the accuracy of that far exceeds humans' capacity to do so.
So what's the human capacity? How many layers do we detect?
It's a lot less. The human comparison was on the error rate. So let's say the 152 layers equated to maybe like 3.4% error rate. Humans might have been around 5.6. And right now, actually, we're speaking to one another in English. Your children or your grandchildren won't have to learn a second language. Right now, Microsoft Translator can translate speech simultaneously across 11 languages in real time and 60 plus in text. So if you think about going to China and visiting, yes, there are benefits to learning a second language in your brain, and there are benefits culturally in understanding someone else's context. But the days of having to learn a language in order to communicate when you travel, when you work with business, cultural context, and protocols will still matter.
Right.
But our kids and grandkids will no longer how to do that. In drive-thrus, speech recognition and intelligence are capturing orders that are being matched with what people data enter, and eventually won't require a human being to go straight in. Wouldn't it be nice if you go drive-through to actually see your order back in real time based on what you said and actually have it be accurate? So it doesn't tell me that I look good or bad yet, but it might has the capacity to do so. And some days I'm glad it doesn't. Chatbots. They're bots. They can answer more questionably, could know. And if you think about customer service areas, if you think about HR portals for benefits, over time, just as the first Google algorithm must have been pretty terrible. The first Amazon recommendation of what you want to buy online had a product that I was like, I don't think I look that pretty in pink, but, maybe Amazon thought so back then when it recommended some clothes for me. So, the ability over time of the bots, which are right now front and center for a lot because there's a cost element to that. But in marketing and data analytics, personalization's being amplified with AI, everything from advertising to online booking, revenue management, logistics. Again, these are each kind of use cases in specific areas, more algorithmic intelligence than general intelligence. And again, because of the deep specialization, it's still a while before we're going to have, I can do an API or connect those capabilities. So I can take recognition of speech and I can do video and match that up biometrically. But the science behind it isn't having kind of the same cognitive brain applying to it. So where are we headed? Not just on this call or in life, but with artificial intelligence. So if you think about computing, right, in the 80s, it was PCs, in the 90s, the internet. In 2000s, it was mobile, with social, right? And we all have all of these apps. Well, kind of what's old is new again. One of the most fundamental human things that we do is talk to one another. We communicate. It's the basis of what distinguishes us in many ways, though other animals have other means of communication. And so there is a giant platform shift coming in the shift from the world of apps and the world of mobile to conversations, natural language, with bots and agents, whether you call them digital assistants. So this is the Cortana for Microsoft, Siri for Apple. Samsung's jumping into the game with Bixby, and there's a reason why, and I'll touch that on in a second. Keep in mind the iPhone's only been around 10 years. Think about how it's transformed the world, disrupted business models, enabled others, right? Think about 10 years from now. When you look at the latest estimates from Gartner and others, by 2020, the expectation is 30%. And voice is the easy part that folks are trying to solve for with AI and with technology to say, well, how do we actually make the booking happen? And Shane at Skyscanner talked a little bit about that, so I won't tread over old ground. What comes after this speech, right? And this has profound implications. We actually see yet another platform jump that's right behind that, which is augmented reality. Facebook has come out, Apple's come out, everyone's trying to catch up. Microsoft has HoloLens. There's a stealth company in Florida called Magic Leap. And this is different from virtual reality, which closes off the outside world. That will still be a huge market. Augmented reality, and HoloLens can do both, augmented and virtual, is overlaying of information that you can interact with. So we call that mixed reality, when you're actually interacting with it while still being able to see your environment. So if you want to watch a game, the latest football, we see when it goes to the visors, the heads-up visor, Google Glass, much like that hotel of the future or that room of the future, home of the future back in Japan 30 years ago was far too early for its time. Not only technology, socially, privacy, all sorts of enabling technologies and things had to happen. And now we're seeing everybody race because you're still going to have voice kicking things off, but now visually that becomes it. So let me ask kind of a profound question. When computers can speak, when instead of us bending the technology, technology bends to us, and human language is the new user interface, bots become the new apps. You don't have to go in and out of something. If you say, you know, book this trip, why should you have to go to the same hotel website or airline website 20 times and put your name and basic information again, or your payment? Shouldn't you just be able to say, you know, book my room at Marriott, you know, have my own personal assistant, digital assistant say, would you like me to make payment? Yes, please. And it's done, right? So think about this though. Think about this from the current travel space and everything we do. What happens when voice and artificial intelligence is driving search and return and booking, right? There are tremendous implications. Who owns the search? Right? What gets returned if artificial intelligence can search not just the meta search one and done, but all of the options out there and return not just the best price family trip. I want to go to New York City between these dates. I'd like to have roughly this price point. It knows the types of hotels. Yeah, I may say, well, no to those, or could you give me some more options? The Alexas? Is it the operating system? Is it the device? And if so, a mobile device now, but you know, who owns it when it's the augmented reality glasses? What comes back? Is it from the hotelbrand.com or airlinebrand.com or rental car? Is it the OTAs like the Expedias, the Travelocities, right? Is it the meta searches? So what happens if the device and platform change? And that's why I think you're seeing an acceleration from a variety of corners around both voice and even the next wave after that, augmented reality, because you know the mobile phone is really kind of a transition. We're looking down. I think all of us should invest in chiropractors, because in 20, 30 years, we're all going to need kind of medical help to straighten our necks out from looking down so much. Some other examples with artificial intelligence and where it's going, right? So General Electric and Microsoft work. GE has 600,000 machines that they actually have digital replicas of. And they've been incorporating Cortana Voice. This is our artificial intelligence assistant, to do predictive maintenance. So they had just one of these machines that had a part that was starting to fail, a rotor and a steam turbine. And just that one alone, because of that, they were able to identify predictively before it caused further damage, save $12 million. Now they have 600,000 machines. If you think about the connected hotel room, we already at Microsoft have the ability to connect all those pieces I talked about that 30 years ago were more science fiction then, that are actually reality now. But now we're starting to integrate Cortana to be able to drive things within the hotel room. Again, there are frictions in the industry, such as owners, management companies and brands, capital. You're not going to suddenly upgrade everything all at once. It takes time, just like keyless entry to hotels. At whatever point new build or renovations are going on, or a brand that's worth the investment. Same thing in airlines, same thing in rental cars. So the technology, I think, the capacity far exceeds the ability to actually deliver on solutions today. So I think the industries will be playing catch up. Other industries like financial services may move a little faster. We do this in predictive maintenance with engines for airlines with Rolls-Royce globally. So there's an airline in Asia, I can't name the name, but we have the airline engine center. And you can see parts that may be failing at some point. You can identify logistically through the flight schedule, okay, this plane's going to be in Heathrow in 8 hours, the part's 3 hours away. Let's put the parts on another flight. Without inconveniencing your flight as a passenger, right? Taking that plane out of service, that's millions of dollars. So this is way the artificial intelligence and logistics and other areas is making a difference. And it's also the very fabric of the technology in the web. So we have something called field programmable gate arrays, FPGAs. which if you remember 10 minutes from now, it's probably 10 minutes too long, right? But you can translate War and Peace, all 1,440 pages from Russian to English in 2.5 seconds, just using one node of that fabric. And the same set of nodes could translate the Library of Congress in the US. That's 38 million books in 76 seconds, about the time it would take you to go get your espresso. So the capabilities today in terms of what is actually achievable, again, within discrete areas, applied to specific needs and tasks, have profound ability to change the world and will continue to do so. And you might say, well, what's the next leap forward? There's something called quantum computers. So cloud computing has been a breakthrough in terms of capacity. Quantum computers essentially is basically the sense of a computer could probably tenfold increase the speed and power. So the ability to take the human genome and do even more advanced analytics, all of that becomes that much more possible. And the feeling from MIT is that it's getting close. It may be 4 or 5 years, and suddenly there could be this great breakthrough that enables kind of a leapfrog or stepwise improvement. So all of this brings us to the precipice of the future. The fourth industrial revolution is underway. The founder and executive chairman of the World Economic Forum, Professor Klaus Schwab, said there's never been a time of greater promise or greater peril. And our ambitions at Microsoft. Yeah.
Regarding that, I am very interested on your take on this. I know that if we continue making progress on improving our technology regarding the artificial intelligence, which we in some time in the future we're going to have more capabilities that we currently have. But the thing is that I have the fear that we haven't invested into solving the other problem of artificial intelligence. There is the problem of making artificial intelligence either on specific domains or the general one, but there is also the other problem is to control the artificial intelligence. So probably making some controls or some quality controls of how the artificial intelligence must behave, it's probably a harder problem than just making the artificial. So, for example,
it is there.
Yeah, for example, on the bots that make reservation on your behalf, you have all the account information on those bots, and probably those a goal, and they decide that the goals may start they come out not our main goal. So we need a control that. What is your take on that state of the matter?
So you start having complaints. My 5-year-old purchased all these game upgrades, but then you'd be like, my computer purchased all of these game upgrades.
Yeah, that's correct. That's the thing.
It knew that's what you wanted. That might be what the computer wanted.
Sure.
But I wanted to do it.
That's
Wanted
the
to order different.
So the question is, how do you do it safely, responsibly, and can you even, once the genie's out of the box? Right now, I mean, there are luminaries in the field, that are on both sides of that fence. Is it benign, and is it going to augment humans' capacity and sign me up to be a cyborg? Not me personally. There are people saying that, and these are people in the industry. 2 people saying, like Elon Musk, that fear the apocalypse. And that's not hyperbole. I'd encourage everyone, there's a great piece in Vanity Fair, and regardless of your politics or what you think about her political views, exceptionally well done by Maureen Dowd, D-O-W-D. There's no Microsoft interest in this, just incredible piece about all of that. The question is, do we even know what the artificial intelligence is thinking? And right now, that's something that's on the top of a lot of minds. So part of being able to expand it is enabling the artificial intelligence to learn in human-like ways where we can't always explain why or how a decision is made. And there's a movement to try to, if you look in the Wall Street Journal in the past 2 weeks, figure out ways to require AI to explain the investment decision, decision, life and death, you want to understand how these decisions are made. Secondarily, to your point, what happens if the machines are smarter? And some would say the fact that you may be the person that says, hey, we need someday to make sure that we put controls or a kill switch on the machine. Some people would say, well, you're going to be the first person targeted because they know that you're the one most likely to stand in their way. By the way, it's not this kind of like Terminator vision of a robot. The sense is the intelligence system, it's the algorithm, right? And it could be something that does something with the power grid, with changing medication to outsmart it. I think we're still a long way from that. So most folks in the AI community, though, you never know, there could be a disruptive breakthrough. When we're talking about where it is today, and this is where the science fiction is further out, and eventually we'll be there. It may be 30 years before the kind of consciousness, all of these different pieces that are being put together to automate pieces to get breakthroughs in machine learning. The human brain and the capacity, we're still learning things about our biology. When a baby is born, there are things that are enabled biologically through natural birth that don't happen through C-section. It's not a matter of replicating, computer printing a brain and trying to replicate the structure. There's so much more about the biology, the chemistry, et cetera, that's not understood. It doesn't mean we're not advancing in that direction.
Or even the moral,
and I think there are two things. One is
social.
What's the implications? Go ahead, sorry.
I was just going to say the moral and social structure of what it is to be human. Like how would machine handle that? Because, for example, I don't think I'm the only freak here, but how many of us, I think probably all four of us, have in one way or another imagined how you would rob a bank? Yes or no? Okay, but
when I was 12,
right.
You might want to talk to someone if that was in the last year or two.
I know, but I mean, the point is, like, or you watch something on news, or you see something on TV, and you're like, oh, well, that was stupid, or I would have done it this way, or wouldn't it be better this, or whatever. But you have that reservation of, like, you don't actually go through with it. Is the machine able to, like,
that's right,
do that check of, like, that social moral balance?
Yeah.
So moral, ethical. That's a big part is empathy. Right now, Microsoft has, in addition to Cortana, which is more transactional, typical transaction for a Siri, Alexa, Cortana, about 3 exchanges back and forth. Right now in China, Microsoft has something called Yao Voice, which has 40 million users. In Japan, Rina is the equivalent. It has almost 30 million, which is the equivalent of 1/5 of the Japanese population. Both appear on shows. And these are conversational artificial intelligence assistants that the typical exchange lasts 23 back and forth exchanges, and they're conversations that last over an hour. In the States, it's actually a little bit below the radar. There are 170,000 users of something Microsoft's been kind of quietly, not now so quietly, testing, where 1,000 of those exchanges have lasted over an hour. This is, I think, the beginnings of trying to teach machines empathy, to teach them other things, but it's still algorithmically challenged. I think long before we get to that, the question socially and politically and economically is, what are the profound implications that are going to happen in the next 10, 15 years when you don't need customer service agents or truck drivers, or it only takes 6 people to run a factory, not 60 or 600 or 6,000 like it used to be. So, for example, McKinsey, the Global Institute, said that the transformation of society happening from AI right now is 10 times faster and 300 times the scale, or roughly 3,000 times the impact of the Industrial Revolution. PricewaterhouseCoopers says the U.S. will lose 38% job market by 2030, Germany 35%, UK 30%, Japan 21%, and in financial services 61%. BlackRock is already using machines upper managers to pick stocks. That was just in the Wall Street Journal in the last month. And the academics who did research into, well, the robots are kind of on, and said that no, actually not really that there is net loss. So, there is a question: is the disruptive opportunity in the disruption? So, how can society, how can businesses, how can technology help alleviate. Because the reality is you're probably not going to get a 50-year-old coal miner in West Virginia to suddenly become an AI machine learning programmer in Silicon Valley, even with a lot of training and good intentions all the way around. How do we mitigate the potential for strife, social unrest, greater inequities, which already have compounded in recent decades? And I think there's tremendous opportunity there. And there no doubt will be a tremendous amount of new jobs created. Driverless cars is probably the more sophisticated end of AI intelligent systems out there today. But there are going to be big challenges. So I think that really is one of the more profound things. By the way, when we talk about science fiction and things today that were once science fiction are reality, you think about Elon Musk again. He announced Neuralink, the intent to connect people's brains with computers. Now, there's a little bit of showmanship here. The reality is you're not going to put sensors in somebody's healthy brain unless it's after you know, Mr. Musk, you first. He with his space Mars endeavor has famously said he'd like to live and die on Mars, just not die on impact. So, there's a little bit of showmanship, but what's underneath that is real, that's profound. Right now for epilepsy, for seizures, there are sensors attached.
One moment, it looks like we've got a pause here. There goes.
Where they're able to help. We still okay?
Yeah, we left off at you talking about epilepsy, and then it cut off.
Okay, are we live back again?
Yeah, we're live. It just kind of had a stall.
Oh, okay, great. That's right. I have those moments too. So the ability to treat disease and learn more about the brain internally, but also externally. And in fact, Facebook just announced, it just hit the wires, I think today, they have a moonshot project to sense people's brains, not to be intrusive, but for people to be able to type, whether somebody's disabled, to get at better technology to be able to sense the brain and be able to do it. And, in a sense, we talk about removing frictions in technology, in daily life, in entrepreneurship, in startups. That's the whole point. Well, going in and out of apps or having to do something in your phone versus voice is removing a friction. Mm-hmm. And we already put external machines in our body, if you think about it. We've had pacemakers for years. So the science fiction part of we're going to be wired up in cyborgs in the next 10 years, is a little overstated. The reality of, though, the ability of technologies to move more in that direction, and where is the ethical line? Where is it helping us? And from an Elon Musk perspective, his view is that the AI will be smarter than us. The only way to compete is by making us superhuman, by augmenting our physical constraints with technology. And I think we're still, again, very far away from the kind of intelligence, the kind of computer, the kind of interactions, but no doubt we are moving along that level. And I think in the next 10 to 15 years, you're going to see more and more of the pieces being put together and that people talk about and consider, because once it's out of the box, it's hard to put it back in. So people would say, well, aren't cars safe? Well, why do you have seatbelts? Well, why do you have fire insurance for your home? Once AI potentially, in theory, is smarter or able, to not be benign or have its own intent, it's too late to put back in the box. And I think that is something hopefully none of us in our lifetime have to feel or contend with. But Microsoft, along with other leading players in the industry, are part of a variety of consortiums around the ethical use of AI, as well as looking at those ways to ensure it's being used responsibly. One of my favorite quotes, I've got about 2 more minutes here before, unfortunately, I have to hop, is by Arthur Clarke. He said, any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. And if you look at all of the technologies we have today, and if you were to think about somebody 10, 20, 30, 50, much less 100 years ago, virtual reality, augmented reality, mobile phones, the ability to do what we're doing, face-to-face. You know, even in the next 10 to 15 years, I think there's a lot of magic that's going to have a lot of positive impact, but also have some challenges all of us are going to have to try to figure out to make the world a better place. We certainly could use a little bit more of that globally as well, from my view personally.
I have two questions for you. My first question is, if someone is interested in pursuing their career or studying or knowing more about AI, machine learning, or anything of that sort, what would your suggestions be to them as far as books, courses, practices, etc.? And then my final question, once you answer that one, would be to tell us a little bit more about i4Travel. I understand you're going to be a speaker next week.
Yes, I am. When it comes to artificial intelligence, there's a wealth of free courses and other things online you can pursue. I think the nice thing about a new and emerging area is there aren't so many experts. And as much as we joked about everybody claiming to be an AI expert, you know, and I would never claim that on the deep technical side of things. The reality is it's very early days, and there's a lot of opportunity. It's going to continue to explode. So you're never too old to learn something new, and it's never too late. And right now, getting in, whether it's local coursework, whether it's stuff online through distance learning, read. There's some great information out there that MIT puts online. There are blogs and posts, you know, leading authorities in the field, as well as things like the Wall Street Journal, New York Times. You know, understand what the use cases are and read up. And in the bigger picture, there's probably a greater risk the real world where you have bad AI undermining the promise. And I think, you know, that's where I think within 2 to 3 years, there's going to be things that are great. And then we're going to hit this gap of if that hype and expectation of it's going to, you know, do all of these things that's still maybe 10 years off, there may be some disappointment. But I do think that there is enough near term that we've hit that critical mass of enabling technologies. And i4Travel, you know, is a wonderful forum, not just for what I'm speaking about. I'll be touching on many of the themes we talked about with a gentleman are in the travel space. Yes, there's a lot of stuff with social and kind of booking, but there is a wealth of speakers across the travel industry. And it's that diversity of perspective, even where we may respectfully disagree or see things going in a different way, that I think anyone would benefit from being able to follow up if they're able to join in person or virtually or sign up for something in the future. It's a wonderful conference, and they do a tremendous job here in San Francisco as well as in London and other places.
Perfect. Well, Nearsoft will be there. I believe Matt Perez, Roberto Martinez, and a few others perhaps. So perhaps we can cross paths. Carlos can get in touch with you with those details as well. Isaac, anything?
No, just thank you. Just thank you for the opportunity. I enjoyed it. Thank you.
All right.
It's my pleasure, and I thank you again for the opportunity, and have a wonderful, wonderful day, and thank you for all those who tuned in your audience.
Yes, thank you all for our patience, particularly you, Stuart, as we had to make MacGyver Jimmy rig all this. I hope it worked out all right. We'll see. So great. So
my pleasure.
Thank you. So with that, we'll sign off from live. Stuart, if you could stick around for just 1 minute more. And everyone else, we'll see you later live.